Hello and welcome to Smoke Mayor's Gaming and Car Talk. Now, in my last video, I was trying to calculate out what the benefits were and the merits of using Celestian Sacrosancts with and without a leader, and whether they were better with maces or halberds, and also whether you were better putting a Palatine or Junith with them. I was told, however, that my calculator was a bit out and that actually they are best with a Palatine and with halberds. Now, I thought I'd got things right, so I've actually been over all the calculations again, and the results are quite interesting, so I'm just going to talk you through them, and I'm covering the Palatine and Junith, and just then as a bit of a wild card, we're going to have a look at what would happen if you could put a Minister and Priest with the squad, which you're not allowed to do, unfortunately, but the results are still quite interesting, and it does make you think about when it might be worth trying to find a way of getting into some other squads. So here's the first basic setup. We've got a Palatine with 5 Sacrosancts, and they're discarding 0 miracle dice for the Rapturous Blows thing and the Righteous Rage thing that the Palatine does. And I've put the formulas at the bottom there. So the hits are the shots and attacks times the multiplier, which is down on the bottom left with each different dice probability. Likely lethal hits and sustained hits are using the multiplier of a 6+. Then obviously we've got the total hits that require a wound roll, because lethal hits don't give you an extra hit. They just mean that particular hit doesn't require a wound roll. Then we've got successful wound rolls is the total likely hits times the multiplier, and then we've got mortal wounds for some of these, in this case none because we're not discarding that miracle dice. Damage from normal hits, where you've got the damage each plus the successful wound rolls minus the likely saves, add any lethal hits that didn't have to be saved. Then we've got obviously the total damage, which will include your mortal wounds. So running down that list there, we can see the plasma pistol. All in all, you're looking at getting about half a model killed on average. Partly because of the save there, partly because of the damage too. We're supercharging it. Obviously, that would be less if we weren't. The Inferno pistol, again, we'll look at an average of half a model killed. That's going to be down to the fact that the Inferno pistol is only D3 damage. And yes, we've got a 6+ save, but we've only got one shot. We've got less of a chance of hitting. It's better than a 50-50, but not great. Then we've got your bolt pistol, so 4 of those, 2.567 hits, 1.3 success rolls, and 2+ save, and your 1.1 likely saves, giving you 0.1 of a hit, so you're unlikely to do any damage with those bolt pistols. On the melee weapons, we're doing a bit better. You've got the spear there, which is likely to do 1.13. Now, the anointed halberds, we've got 12 shots or attacks, giving you 8 hits, 2 lethal hits out of that, in theory. So, also 2 sustained hits. So, the total likely hits is going to be that require a wound roll are going to be 8. That's your hits minus the lethal hits plus the sustained hits. Then we've also got 2 hits which don't require a wound roll from the lethal hits. 3 wounds, 5.34 successful wound rolls, and then your save of 4+, likely save 3.89, and the 1 damage means that with the lethal hits as well, we're expecting less than 4 damage from normal hits. And so we're looking at nearly 2 units on average. Now, the hallowed maces just have lethal, and so there's no sustained on this. Still 2 lethal hits, but the actual total hits requiring a wound roll is down. Saves are up proportionally, but not necessarily up enough to mitigate the fact that these are 2 damage. So we're looking at potentially 6, nearly 7 damage on average from the maces, which means we're looking at probably killing on average 1 extra model, even though you've got sustained from the halberds here. The Palatine, if we don't sacrifice any miracle dice, you're looking at 1.5 models on average. 2+ hits, it's strength 4, I think. So you're looking at 2.5 for locally total likely hits, 1.32 successful wound rolls, 4+ save, 1 save, 2 damage, so you're looking at 3 damage, 1.5 models killed probably. So that's your benchmark. Now, moving on, we're looking at if you add the 4 miracle dice discarding for Rapturous Blows and Righteous Rage. So this is adding that Mortal Wounds ability, and it's also increasing the Palatine's attacks and strength to 7. And the key difference here is going to be the Palatine's attacks and strength going up means that the model that she kills is going to go up to 3.68, so on average between 3 and 4 kills. Without that, the killed with Halberds was only 5.51 and the maces was 7.01. Now those have risen to Halberds 7.68 and the maces 9.10. So again, maces are looking better. If we move on to the same deal with Junith, 5 Sacrosancts again, the difference between maces and halberds doesn't actually work out any different, so it doesn't actually matter. The thing that really does matter is the survivability. If you get charged because of a -1 to hit, -1 to wound that Junith gives them, means they will be much more likely to survive a charge by the Great Knights, but your potential to damage them is significantly lessened. Moving on to the 10 Sacrosancts with the Palatine, we're now looking at, when you do all the calculations, figure it all out, 8.11 kills with the Halberds and 11.49 with the maces. Again, I'm sure I've got the maths right here. I've looked at it and I've taken into account the lethal hits on both, the sustained on the Halberds, saves, the increased AP, all that stuff. But it looks like, although the Halberds are made a lot better by the Palatine, it's not necessarily enough to mitigate the fact that the maces are 2 damage. We're looking at overall Halberds 4.15 just for that weapon and 7.53 for the maces. So we're now looking at 8.11 with the Halberds to 11.49 with the maces. Obviously, the survivability of those models is going to have gone down. So it's a bit of a trade-off, but in terms of charging the strike squad and doing damage, the Palatine with 10 using maces is the better option. And actually, you might even potentially turn around and say having the Sister Superior with the mace might even make it even better. I haven't done that calculation yet, but it's pretty easy to figure out. It looks like potentially you would be doing more than that. Or no, actually probably not, because 4 hallowed maces, 27, no, probably not, but we'd have to do the calculation. Moving on again, we've got the 10 Sacrosancts with the discarding of 4 miracle dice for Rapturous Blows and Righteous Rage. And now we're getting some pretty good results. On average, with the Halberds and the Palatine discarding those 4 miracle dice for his abilities, you're looking at 10 kills with the Halberd on average, 13.5 with the maces. Again, it's that damage too that makes all the difference. And moving on again, we've got Junith, who's now going up to 6.5 kills, 6.5, more or less slight difference with the maces and Halberds, making a Halberd slightly better marginally, but there's hardly anything in it. The only real advantage is the fact that you're making that squad a bit more survivable. And you'll also, I believe, making Junith more survivable, because it will also, when she's leading a squad, increase her, plus it will make her -1 to hit. If we could add a priest to the Celestial Sacrosanct, his melee weapon and his melee ability, and the fact that he gives everyone +1 to wound, would make a big difference. With the Halberds, he's looking at 4.97 kills. With the maces, it's 7.54. Going on to the, if you discard the 3 miracle dice and you use his zealot ability on the same turn, so you're giving him +6 attacks and +6 strength, you're now getting to the stage where he's killing 2.5 models just on his own, and everybody else is killing more as well. So with just 5 of them, you're potentially killing 6.6 with your Halberds and 9.2 with your maces. moving on to if you're using 10, you're looking at 7.76 with your halberds and 13.56 with your maces. If you could put in with the sacrosancts and you had 10 and you used 3 miracle dice to do Rapture, Righteous Rage, and you use the Zealous ability on the same turn, then you'd be killing potentially 9.42 with halberds and 15.2 models with maces. So that is that will be massively successful, but sadly you aren't actually allowed to do that. So here's the results of all the calculations put together. I've put the priest separate because although it was interesting to think about if you could put him, you can't actually put him here in there. He would be the runaway winner with sacrificing 3 miracle dice and using maces at 15.22 kills. Moving down onto the rankings on the bottom right here, you can see where the others fall. So your best option, the way you deal the most damage, is having maces with the Palatine and sacrificing 4 miracle dice, and that's potentially average rolling going to get you 13.5 kills. Then we're on Palatine with maces, not sacrificing any miracle dice. Then we're going down to Paladines with halberds, and we're doing 10.3, sacrificing 4 miracle dice. Then you've got your maces with 4 miracle dice, maces with 5 0 miracle dice. Then you've got your maces with your halberds with 10, no miracle dice, 8, and your Palatine with halberds, lower still. Then it's actually Junith is the next one, and the worst one is the 5 halberds with no miracle dice. And again, it's quite interesting. You'd think having a Palatine and using the halberds would make the halberds the better choice for the sustained hits plus the lethal hits, but when you actually calculate the problem, I'm fairly sure, unless my maths has gone completely awry, I'm fairly sure your actually best bet is to take the Palatine and go with maces. Possibly with the Sister Superior as well. I mean, if I went theoretically back to my spreadsheet and I just off camera quickly do that, and I say, okay, we'll take the spears attacks down to 0, and we take the hallowed maces up to 30. That makes the maces on 11.165 there. That's probably the one to do. Let's pick the Palatine plus 5 0 miracle dice. So yeah, so as it is, we're looking at halberd kills 5.51, maces 7.01. If we swap the spear for the mace on the Sister Superior, we're then going up to 4.38 and 6.72. So actually, I stand corrected, you are better with the Spear of the Faithful on the Sister Superior there. And that pretty much wraps it up. I hope my maths is right this time. If you want to pause it and have a look at my formulas, do feel free and feel free to correct me in the comments. But the conclusion I can draw from this is really they're better off with the Palatine in terms of sheer punch and with maces. But it's a pity you can't put a priest with them. If I'd have actually made that charge there and I'd had the Palatine with them, I would say with some pretty average luck rolling, I should probably have been able to clear out that entire squad. And again, the -1 to wound on the fight back would have meant any surviving Grey Knights would have had a more difficult job beating them. So that conclusion still remains the same. You really don't want to be running Celestian Sacrosanct without a leader. If you do want them with a leader, okay, Junith, if you want them to have a bit more survivability, maybe if you want to put them with Junith, 5 of them on an objective to give Junith a bit more survivability, that's not a bad use of 75 points maybe. if you're looking for the command points from Junith. If you're actually looking to charge in and do some damage, you probably want a Palatine and you probably want maces. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.